beginning of this year who, how do you explain it? He was, had sort of a tough guy attitude. I'm not talking about, punching people kind of tough guy, but a defense up. And an example would be just a little comment here and there. Oh, doesn't matter to me. It could do that. Just sort of that, doesn't matter what you do to me, I'm tough. And I watched him for a while, and we sort of talked about different ways, to cope through the day, but I realized I think he's exhausted because he's thinking of so many different ways to protect himself or to keep up some image that he has of himself. How will he be able to learn? How will he be able to have a friend? How will he be able to do anything? Because he has this. So what do you do with that? We looked to see what Charlotte Mason said about it, and she said that you need to treat it as if it's like an ailment, a disease. And there needs to be a definite cure that's set about, and spend an entire month. Well, what's the prescription? The prescription is to let him establish new paths. So the grumpy response, we're going to go, oh, wait a second, what if we did this instead? Okay? And I'm doing it with a smile. I'm giving him a hug. I'm getting right down looking at him. And I said to him, look, I've noticed this, that you are kind of grumpy sometimes, or you kind of just want to say something to be a little bit, get a reaction out of somebody. And I said, what if we tried to do a little bit different thing? What if we tried to make some different paths in your brain instead of those kind of grumpy paths? What if we replace those with just sweet thoughts? And he said, okay. So we set about that work. And really what it took was a positive attitude from me, telling him he can do it, smiling, just redirecting. We thought of opportunities for him to give a pleasant thought, to make a new pathway. So maybe I said, here, would you take this note and give it to my team teacher, give it to her and see what she does. So he said, here, I'm supposed to give this to you. And she would look at it, and she'd smile at him, and he'd smile back. So that was a positive thing. I would talk to him about, would you, go do this? Could you tell so-and-so, here's a new eraser. We're going to get rid of that old one that's sort of crumbling. And I said, watch to see what their reaction is. And so he would do that, and they would smile. So he'd come back, and I'd say, well, what was their reaction? Well, they smiled. I'm like, I bet they really appreciated what you did. Yeah. So anyway, I can't tell you the difference that it has made. He's still growing, he's still growing, but one day he'd had kind of a particularly difficult day for himself, and when he was maybe not giving attention to something, I would ask him to stand behind his seat. And then he'd get it together, and he'd sit back down and refocus. Well, by the end of the day, he had, by himself, just noticed that he'd been standing a little bit extra that day. So he came up to me and said, I just want to apologize. And I said, for what? And he said, well, I noticed I was standing a lot today, and he goes, I just didn't think that was being very respectful, so will you forgive me? And I said, well, of course I'll forgive you. And I said, that's really good of you to notice. And I said, tomorrow is a new day. So,